What is up, people? We're back with yet another Criclytics Man vs Machine episode, and this one is going to be a Bollywood blockbuster on Manic Monday. What's his space right now? We'll tell you why. We'll tell you why exactly, because it is, of course, Punjab against Kolkata, KL Rahul's men up against Owen Morgan's men, and it is, of course, a shift in venue. It comes from the biggest stadium in the world, which is, of course, in Ahmedabad, and we have Saba Karim joining us in this preview. Saba, let me get straight into it. Your gut feel going into this game. Who's going to come on top before we get into the nitty-gritties?
I think given the current form, one would go with Punjab Kings because they remain a very unpredictable side. They blow hot and cold. But on the other hand, they're up against KKR, who have yet to get off the mark in a positive manner. Just won one game out of 4 games which they have played, or 5 games which they have played. So it's going to be an hardest task for KKR to recover. I thought the last encounter they played, they had a very good chance of putting that one across. But somehow they were unable to do so. So at this stage, I think KKR struggling with the batting, not been able to put together the right kind of combination. And I think that's been a big struggle for KKR.
But absolutely, Saba, I completely agree with you. Now with KKR, there is, of course, a conundrum whether they should bat Andre Russell higher up the order. Whenever they get 180 plus since 2019, they invariably win all their games. And if they get 150 below it, they lose all their games. So that tells you a lot. Do you think they should stick to that formula?
That could be a very good option for KKR, but it is not about what number Andre Russell gets into bat. It depends on the number of overs, the number of deliveries he gets to face. And I think that's something which KKR has to figure out. Their issue is that the top order looks extremely fragile, and is compounded with the failure of their captain Owen Morgan. So they've not been able to fine-tune the right kind of top order. Nitish Rana scored some runs the first 2 games, off color after that. Shubman Gill has not been among runs. Owen Morgan failure. So I think Rahul Tripathi also big score on only 1 game. So I think the kind of stability KKR is looking at the top order, that hasn't taken place. I think once the top order stabilizes, then I think KKR will be a far better position to understand the dynamics of Andre Russell and when to use him.
Right, Saba, moving on to Punjab then, because when we take a look at what they did the last outing, they came away with comprehensive win, a clinical 9-wicket win, chasing perhaps the worst wicket in this IPL to bat against the champions in Mumbai. How much confidence can they take out of that going into this one?
Yes, I think it was a commanding win in the last encounter. Winning against a champion side like Mumbai Indians, it requires a lot of diligence, a lot of hard work, a lot of getting the right kind of combination. It is good to see that Punjab Kings, they entrusted their faith in some of the regular players. On top of that, the number of changes that they brought in, all that worked very well for Punjab Kings. But as you rightly said, there's a change of venue. They need to again adapt very quickly, which they did on the Chennai track. So one can expect all that to happen. They do have KL Rahul and Anil Kumble, 2 very intelligent people in the camp. So I'm sure they will first try and figure out the conditions at Ahmedabad, try and assess the wicket as quickly as possible, and then try and get in a very positive frame of mind. But looking at both the sides, one gets the impression that Punjab Kings, to a large extent, have been able to sort out their issues. So yes, I think they seem to be in a healthy space at this stage, Avanish.
Okay, let's move on to your 1-minute pitch, and it surrounds the story of Andre Russell and KKR. Do you think he should bat higher up, considering Charles Lara, who's on our show, also admitted that the best batsman in your team should face the most amount of deliveries?
I'm looking at it in a different perspective altogether, Avanish. I'm looking at maximizing the potential of Andre Russell, and I would love to see Andre Russell come up the order. When KKR feels that they need to accelerate runs, and Andre Russell needs to bat for some more time before he gets into that big hitting mode. So that's the kind of utilization I would like to see from Andre Russell. Somehow they've not been able to figure that out. And if you remember, even last season, Andre Russell had some issues with the KKR management. He would hardly get game time. So I think in this season, KKR management needs to think over this, try and see that Andre Russell gets to bat as much as possible. I would love to see Andre Russell getting more opportunities to bat maximum number of overs, and that's something which KKR has to deal with and figure out as soon as possible.
Right, let's move on to your predictions then, Saba, because Criclytics has Mayank Agarwal in terms of batsman selections in this one. Do you agree with the machine here?
Mayank Agarwal did manage to put up some runs in the last game. I'm not very convinced with his form at this stage. He does not seem to have found the right kind of an attitude or the right kind of game awareness as to score big. So maybe I'll go with maybe KL Rahul if that is a possibility, because the captain seems to be in very good nick. So I would stick with KL Rahul.
Saba, let me interject there because you can't pick KL Rahul. Unfortunately, he falls on the wicket-keeper category. So you can go for likes of Chris Gale, for example, David Malan, who might be given the nod in. There's, of course, Nitish Rana, Rahul Tripathi, Owen Morgan. So you can choose from one of these, please.
Let me stick with Chris Gale then. It was wonderful to watch him adapt in the last game, and it seems that he has worked hard in batting at number 3. Generally, I would expect him to bat as an opener, but I think the Punjab Kings team management have got some other plans from Chris Gale, and they're trying their level best to facilitate Chris Gale in this aspect. Let me stick with Chris Gale.
Okay, Chris Gale, and remember, Punjab fans, it was him who starred in that last game these two locked ons in IPL 2020 with an 8-wicket victory in that run chase that they had, of course. Saba, let's move on to your bowlers' predictions because it's strange, this one, and I'll let you have the first crack in terms of making the predictions for your bowlers, please.
That's a tough one. I'm just looking at trying to recall what happened in the India-England T20 series. The pace bowlers as well as the spinners did quite well. So let me go with someone like Ravi Bishnoi, who was impressive in the last game. And it's apparently Anil Kumble perhaps has spent some time with Ravi Bishnoi, and he has worked very hard on him. It was good to see that finally I was able to play a game this season, and it did quite well for Punjab Kings in that game against Mumbai Indians.
All right. I mean, Criclytics has gone for Pat Cummins, which is a strange choice, but let's see how that pans out. Let's move on to the all-rounders because another strange choice from Criclytics. It's gone for Sunil Narine, who really hasn't looked the same old Sunil Narine that we've seen throughout the years in the IPL. I'm surely thinking that you're going for someone else, Saba.
Afnish, I'm quite surprised that they picked Sunil Narine. At least he's getting a game, which is good for KKR, but he's yet to strike goals, so to speak. So I would prefer to go with Andre Russell. Given the nature of the wicket at Ahmedabad, if he gets to bat high up the order, if he gets to play many more delivery than what he has already done so far, I do expect him to fire in a big way. Plus, I think KKR would like Andre Russell to pick up some useful wickets. He did that. He has got a 5-wicket haul, but that was on a different kind of a surface altogether. So even if he bowls about 2-3 overs, there is a strong possibility that he may pick up some important wickets for his side. So let me go with Andre Russell as an all-rounder.
Okay, I like it. West Indian from KKR, but different. Let's see what you have in the wicket-keepers. And here's where you can actually go for KL Rahul.
Yeah, I would like to stick with KL for a number of reasons. One, he seems to be a natural behind the stumps. Plus, as a captain, I think so far he has batted with a lot of responsibility. The way he controlled the innings in the last run chase against Mumbai Indians was commendable. And these are some very important factors that goes in the favor of KL Rahul. Dinesh Karthik, he's got limited chances. Plus, he bats way down the order at number 5, number 6. So for someone like Dinesh Karthik to come up and score some runs will not be so easy. So yes, I will go with KL Rahul.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. We'll move on to your match result then, because according to the Criclytics win predictor in this one, PBKS have a 53% one swinging in their favour. I think you would concur with the machine, I'm guessing.
I think I'll go with the machine because it seems that the machine has been able to analyze the progress of Punjab Kings quite well. It has also gone through the resources that is available for Punjab Kings. And I feel that they have the right kind of players who will do well even this trip at Ahmedabad. So it may be neck to neck, but I think Punjab Kings will have an edge.
All right, you're playing clever. We like it in terms of all of your predictions. And who knows, in terms of your CSK RCB ones, I think you've called a few right as well. We'll let that be and we'll catch you in the post-match. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, you can subscribe to cricket.com. We'll see you in the next one.